Hey, Brenda here. Okay, here, I know this is going to sound really weird, especially if you're in the thick of your divorce, and it's probably not something that you maybe necessarily want to hear, particularly if you didn't want the divorce. But here today, I'm going to tell you why I am so much better off after my divorce and why you might be able to be too, right? It's always, beauty is through the eyes of the beholder. You can see the beauty. We've talked about radical acceptance. You know what that is. Once you radically accept, now you have a choice. You can either see the beauty in the ashes, or you can smear ash all over your face and mourn for 3 months and make sure that your life is miserable for the rest of your life. So you have a choice, but I'm going to share with you why my life is much better and why so many of my clients' life is so much better after they've gotten a divorce, okay? So first and foremost, it is a killer opportunity for you to actually step into ownership of who you are, of your character, of how you respond to things, and to own your mistakes in the divorce, right? I say all the time to my kids, if two kids are in an argument, and say you and your ex-spouse got in an argument, and maybe one is 30% at fault, the other 70% at fault, right? If you really got technical, some of you engineer nerds kind of do this, where you get really technical. Well, I was kind of at fault, not really, but just a little bit. But you get the idea, right? Where one's majority at fault, one's not. You still have to own 100% of your 30%, right? So that's a mantra in our house. Even if you're 1% wrong, you have to own 100% of that 1%, okay? And so that is the best opportunity that you have here coming out of your divorce. This self-reflection that you have, the self-analysis and the self-growth opportunity that is there when you do that is just absolutely stinking priceless. There is nothing that will grow you more. Nobody knows you the way that you know you, and unfortunately nobody talks to you the way that you talk to yourself either, right? So you know your weaknesses, you know what your heart's motivation was, and only you can discover where there's cracks in your armor, in your foundation, where you can choose to fill those gaps, and you can choose to do some self-growth and self-discovery there, so that you can better your character for the future that you have ahead of you in the second shot at your life, okay? And so here's the other deal is there are so many things now that you get to do for yourself. Think about all the times where you may have wanted to go shopping or hunting or buy a ATV for that hunting or whatever it might be. And you don't have to ask anyone. You just get to go get that bottle of scotch if you want to. It's on you. You pay the bills. You deal with your stuff. You don't have to run anything by anyone. And there is a sense of freedom that I really forgot about, where I can do whatever I want. I can go get that pair of shoes. I can go get that purse. And I used to feel a lot of guilt and shame in my marriage because, the kids needed this or they needed that. And there's some reality where it's okay to take care of yourself. It's okay to have the things that you want that make you feel good, that build your confidence, and that can get you back into your best self, right? Okay, so there's tip number 2. So number 3, my kids are so much happier. When you are living in a home with an ex where, like your spouse, your husband or your wife, and it's volatile and there's tension, people sense emotions, whether we want to think it or not. So in my marriage, what we did is we just shut down and didn't communicate at all. And then we would have World War III after the kids went to bed. Well, what that cultivated was this false security in my kids where they thought that everything was fine. In fact, I remember my oldest saying to me, crying, saying, "You ruined my heaven." I mean, those were his exact words, like, "You ruined my heaven. I lived in heaven and you ruined it by getting a divorce. You guys doing this has just ruined my life," okay? And the reality is even though at the time that's how he felt, we look back now and we have so many conversations. Now, of course, we have all kinds of emotionally intelligent conversations in our house, but I've asked them since, both my older 2 boys in particular, are you glad that we got a divorce? Like, not in the sense that, you don't see your dad as much, not anything like that, right? Because both parents' roles are really, really critical and really important. But in that, is our relationship better? Is our life better? There's emotional stability in our home? There's not chaos. There's not fighting. There's not tension. We have a conversation and we've got a disagreement. We address it. We deal with it. And then literally 30 seconds later, we move on. In fact, we've got really close gal that I used to mentor when she was in high school. I'll tell you this quick story, and she's living with us. she's just going through a divorce, and we said, holy crap, come be with us. Come let us love on you for some time. Come be in our space, see how we do life, see how post-divorce can really be. Just watch the gloriousness of how life can be, and we'll get you back on your feet and we'll get you squared away, okay? Emotionally, right? Like that's the objective of her being there. And she used to babysit my kids all the time, so my kids know her, and we all just love her, and we call her our nanny, like whatever. She's just part of the family, auntie, all those things. So my oldest had asked to go do something the other day, and I was on the phone. I was out for a walk, and I was almost home, and I said, hey, bud, we talked about your schoolwork and your one class, your grades are slipping, and you need to prove to me. They've got everything electronic now, and teachers take forever to get back on submitting their homework, okay? So there's this delay effect. And so I was like, great that you turned all this in. Prove to me that you turned it in. Show me the email. Show me somewhere, somehow, electronically that you turned this in. If it's all electronic, there's going to be a trail that you turned this in, right? Because he's 16, almost 17. I gotta mind my P's and Q's with him and make sure he's not, blowing smoke up my skirt a little bit. So I'm telling him that, I'm having that conversation. We get home, and he's like asking to go do something, and I was like, listen, dude, I don't know what the crap you think you're doing, even asking me. And we're having this kind of toe to toe, right? Like I'm raising my voice at him, and I was like, he's like, great to see you, Mom. Like, I'm glad you got home and you're in such a great mood. And I said, you know what, buddy? If you would have done your crap and done it before even asking me to go somewhere, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. So this is back to the you own your 1% of your whatever, 100% of your 1%. And this poor girl is hearing all this go down. And literally a minute later, we are sitting on the stools and we're giggling and laughing because I snuggled up to him, and he's kind of cranky and I'm kind of cranky, and I kind of poke him in the side like we're sitting at the island of the kitchen. And we start laughing, and he's like, Mom, he's like, knock it off, and we're giggling and laughing, and we've moved on. Okay, and so she comes out, and she's like, what is going on out here? Like, what are you guys doing? And I was like, well, we're just dealing with our stuff. We deal with it, we address it, and we move on from it. We're not hanging out in this space, right? And so that's the freedom that's been cultivated in my household, at least. I can't speak for that with their dad's household. I don't know what goes on there. But in my household, we've cultivated this environment, and my kids are happy. They know if we've got to address something, we deal with it. We don't hold grudges for days and weeks on end. We don't not communicate to each other. We address it, we move on, and we're happy, and we're spending our life in a joyful way together. Okay, so that's something that I didn't even foresee, because I was so in the weeds of misery in my marriage that I didn't even know that this was my personality. This is how I deal with conflict. We can deal with it and move on. You don't have to be stuck in this space forever. Okay, so that's one of the biggest things. If you've got kids, try to cultivate that environment. And it also cultivates an environment where they're willing to talk to you about anything. When they know, like, okay, she might be pissed, but it's only going to be for 30 seconds or for 5 minutes or whatever. And then we know we always come full circle on love and acceptance in our house, no judgment. You might screw up, you might make mistakes, but we're all in this together, and we get through it together no matter what. And my kids know that. So you get to cultivate this environment that you decide that you want with the relationship with your kids, okay? All right, what else? Oh, I get to make decisions for my own stinking self. That's a huge one. I love it. I don't have to ask questions. We talked about that a little bit before. I don't have to ask questions, but I'm also not making a decision for two people. Now, there's both sides to that, where sometimes you have to outsource advice and seek counsel from other people because you don't have that second person to bounce ideas off to say, holy crap, am I totally off base? Is this an irrational decision? And like for me, I had to learn to trust my gut again. Once I did that, I can now make decisions real quickly, and I don't have to run it by somebody else. I know to the core of my being that I'm making the right decision, and I don't have to justify, and I don't have to explain, and I don't have to get their approval, and I don't have to go through all those hoops. I get to make those decisions for myself. Okay, so another one is that I get to pursue my passions, and I also get to pursue my passions in conjunction with my kids' passions. So that's something where we didn't really do a lot together before, and I didn't do a lot for myself before. I just didn't. I was a stay-at-home mom. I homeschooled my kids. I took care of the business. I did all of these things. We took care of the property, the kids and I did. So there was a lot that I didn't do for myself. I didn't care for myself. And when I did, again, like I said before, I always felt guilty. And so now we are all free to discover who we are independently on our own and pursue our passions that way. And that brings me to another point of that self-discovery I kind of hinted on earlier. when you do that self-discovery, you're discovering who you are. When you go explore these other passions, these other hobbies that you may not have thought to even try before, you might find like, oh my gosh, I love this. Or one of the things for me was roller coasters. I've had it in my head, and part of that persona of, you know, the stay-at-home mom, the homeschooling mom was like conservative and suppressed, and my personality and the fun side of me wasn't coming out anymore at all. I didn't go on roller coasters. I used to go on them all the time as a teenager. And then as I had kids in my marriage, I just didn't do it. This last summer, I made a decision. I was actually doing 75 hard. In 75 hard, the whole philosophy is like push yourself outside of your limits. And we were at a theme park, and I thought, here's one way today that I can push myself out of my comfort zone. And I did, and I freaking loved it. I absolutely loved it. So now, in my second son, he's the roller coaster kid. I haven't convinced my oldest to step into this space yet on the roller coasters, but my second son loves them. And I have to be honest, the look on his face and the joy that he had when we are going through this hell of a roller coaster, and I'm like screaming at the top of my lungs. He even offered to hold my hand, and he's like, Mom, I think you broke my hand when we got done, because I like death grip on him. But the look on his face, and hours after, the joy beaming from him, because we got to experience that passionate event together. And it was passionate, let me tell you, because I was on death grip for sure. But we got to experience that together. And so when you get to discover this about yourself and find commonalities with your kids and enjoy those experiences together, that is just absolutely stinking priceless. He still talks about it to this day. He's like, oh yeah, my mom that one time when we were at Silverwood, it's a thing. So you get this opportunity to discover yourself and your kids' passions together all at the same time. Okay, so this might speak to, no, it's not. It's not going to just speak to women. This is going to speak to men in a different capacity as well, is you get to gain and learn and be empowered in your independence and self-reliance. My own conditioning makes me want to think that it just would apply to women, but that's just simply not true, because so many times men, especially you high achieving men, you freaking go, you work your butt off, you come home, you're there for dinner, wash, rinse, repeat, and you do your duty to serve your family and to serve them well. And the reality is you feel at some point like you're no longer yourself. And so stepping into self-reliance, relying on yourself to maybe make the income if you weren't the bread earner, maybe to wash dishes or do your own laundry, or to learn to cook maybe for the first time, or do the finances, right? A lot of those are split when you're in a marriage, and when you come out of a marriage, you have to learn that. But here's the beauty of learning all of these things. You are empowering yourself. You as you build these skills and you build upon each one, the more confident you get, knowing you can do it, knowing you can make it, knowing you can get out of it, and knowing you may not know exactly how to plan for your retirement, but you're smart enough to know you can find the right person. Remember what Henry Ford dealt with? He got drugged to court, and they were like, you can't possibly have all these answers. And he's like, I don't. I just have them on speed dial. And I'm smart enough to know I don't need to know everything, but I can outsource and I can tap into the correct people that will give me the resources and the knowledge of what I might be lacking. Okay. And so that gives you the empowerment to know you can get through anything. You can get through anything. I'm telling you, if you can get through divorce, you can freaking get through anything, because divorce shakes every area of your life. I use the snow globe analogy, right? Where nothing shakes your life up like divorce, like a snow globe. It's like somebody picks up the snow globe of your life and just freaking shakes it and shakes it and shakes it and shakes it and doesn't stop, right? But when you learn these skills and you learn that you can adapt and you learn that you can adjust, you're now getting empowered, and you're minimizing that shake of the snow globe with every single skill that you learn and every single asset that you are putting in your tool belt to get you up and over this divorce and onto the other side. So I hate to break it to you. If you're in that divorce depression, the double D's, then let me try to snap you out of it with this video, sharing that there really are some serious upsides to getting divorced, especially if you're in a miserable marriage. And you just have to discover them, and you have to find them for yourself. And yours might be different. And a few of these were from my clients, right, where that was great for them and it didn't necessarily apply to me. So everybody's is different. But if you want to continue to get tips and get tricks on how to get through your divorce and get to the other side, thriving in a healthy way, make sure you subscribe down below, like the video, click the bell so you get notified. And if you know of people that are struggling with this, share the video. Get them subscribed so that they can get this content, they can get this information so they're not stuck in the double D's, the divorce depression. And if you're ready to take the leap and really expedite your process of getting over your divorce, schedule a call with us and my team, and we will get you to the other side in a much faster way, in a healthy way, with a proven methodology that proves that you can thrive in a way after divorce that you never thought possible.